Hello, everybody. Valentine's Day is about to rear its head in some form or other. It can be a very difficult time. If you've been in a relationship with a covert abuser, a coercive controller, uh, they can go out of their way to ruin special occasions. Anything where there's supposed to be some attention paid to you or some attention paid to the relationship where you're trying to get closer and become intimate with somebody that doesn't do intimacy, you will often find that they ruin the occasions that mean the most to you. If you're living with that feeling of dread now, what's a way where you could take this occasion back and make it a reason to celebrate and really honor it in the way it should be honored? So if we can just talk about love for a moment, what does love look like? You know, you've heard me talk about that passage in Corinthians. Love is patient, love is kind, love keeps no record of wrongs, it doesn't envy, it doesn't boast, it always perseveres, it trusts. If you look at that passage that is read at so many weddings and you flip it on its head, abuse is the opposite of that. So it if your partner has told you he loves you and is being disparaging, demeaning, diminishing, uh, calling you names or putting you down in front of your children, sabotaging you, putting you on an allowance, not being forthcoming about his income, messing around outside the relationship, making you feel insignificant, small, and sometimes even afraid. He may not beat you. He may never put a hand on you, but just through that look in his eyes, you know when you've crossed the line in his mind and when there'll be hell to pay for it. That's no way to live. That's not love. And for someone like this who professes love, he has already torn up his card, entitling him to know what you're thinking, planning, or feeling, because all of those things will be used against you. They will be used to manipulate you, to attack you. They'll take your strengths and your vulnerabilities, and they will work to exploit both of those things, both of those qualities. So when you're dealing with a covert abuser, what does that look like? It's hard to tell, isn't it? Because it's covert. But let's take a look at what coercive control, in your face coercive control looks like. No, you don't get access to the joint bank account. In fact, I'm cutting you off. I'm going to put all my money in a separate account in my name. If you want money, you come to me and ask for it. Or I'm putting you on an allowance. Or no, you're not going back to work. Or yes, you're going back to work. Even if it's been like you've just delivered twins through cesarean section and you have a very demanding job that you're out on maternity leave for. They don't really look at vulnerabilities or weaknesses or illness or times when you need help from them. It's all about them. God forbid they should get a cold. Suddenly it's a 4 alarm fire and you better be nursing them 24/7. But if you're ill, how does he treat you? Or if the children fall down and get hurt, how does he treat them? Does he even treat them like children? Is he even capable of treating children like children? Or do they become minions, little soldiers, recruits, or more objects of his wrath, or resources to use and use up in one way or another? So children are at risk when they grow up in an environment like this, just as you are at risk in a relationship like this. And so often you don't have blood or broken bones to show for it. And you can't really pick up the phone and say, help, my husband is killing my soul. He's undermining my relationship with my children. He's taking away from me everything that matters most to me, including pieces of myself. The police aren't going to respond to that kind of call. But at least in California, there's a family code on the books now in family court, family code 6320. Thank God for that. We're making strides. I've been doing this work for 13 years, and I've worked with over 1,400 women in these past 13 years, focused on covert abuse and coercive control. And now we finally have a law in the books in California on it in family court, at least in family court. It's a start, but if that's violated, if you get a restraining order based on coercive control and family code 6320 in California, if you get a restraining order based on that, you can once you get a restraining order in family court, if it's violated, it can become a criminal case. So that's a little bit of survivors of covert abuse and coercive control beginning to take their power back. So February, the month of love, talking about covert abuse and coercive control. We're wrapping them all together. So covert abuse is, well, you have an argument about money because you're you're asking about what his income is, or if he got that raise, or talking about a purchase that you want to make, and the next day, or you have a question about how he's spending his money or where he's putting it. Next day, you go to access the joint bank account and find that somehow you're not able to get in, and it's very difficult going forward to get any information out of you. That's called out of him. That's called stonewalling. Or he offers to help you install some new software, virus protection software on your computer. And why not? Because he's what? An IT expert. So you let him do that. And then later you find out that, or you suspect he's reading your emails. Another situation, you look up as he enters the room and you're on your iPad and you've got this funny feeling that he's been reading your emails, and you ask him, have you been reading my emails? And he says, I never touched your iPad. I never touched your computer. And that may be true. It may be the truth, but not the whole truth and nothing but the truth, because he may have been accessing your emails remotely, or he may be looking at your cell phone when you're in the shower. So they are wily creatures. And that's why I think my background as an English literature major and teacher before becoming a domestic violence advocate has been very helpful, because it teaches you to be very attuned to language, to nuance, to subtlety, to double entendres, to not just what they say, but what they don't say. It's a lot of it is about context and innuendo with a covert abuser. They don't come out and say they're going to kill you, but you start to feel over time like you're dying inside, slowly dying. The life is being sucked out of you with no weapon and no forensic evidence to show for it often. But what you need to do then is look within yourself after an encounter with someone like this and ask yourself, how am I feeling as a result of this encounter? Do I feel lifted up, supported, protected, cherished, loved? That's what love is, all of those things. Or do I feel diminished? Do I feel defensive? Am I starting to second guess my every move? Am I starting to wonder about my perception of reality? I thought he said this. I thought he did that. But now he's spinning it around. And why do I end up apologizing for something that he did, something I thought I saw that he did or said? So that's how wily, manipulative, and cunning they are. And yet they say they love you. How can that be? It can't. That's not love. That's possession. That's ownership. That's abuse. So February, the month of love. If I ask you the question, do you love yourself? What would the answer be? Do you even think about yourself? Do you think about things you like to do, things that are important to you, ways to spend your time that uplift you? Do you spend much time on self-care? Do you say nice things to yourself when nobody else is around? Do you talk to yourself in a nice way? Or if you make a mistake, do you say, oh, you stupid effing idiot? Whose voice is that? If you're starting to diminish yourself, that's how good these guys are being. That's how good these guys are at being bad. They start off with the charm and the love bombing and over time, the gaslighting getting inside your head, but you start to hear their voice inside your head. Oh, you're so lovely. You're so wonderful. I love you. You're so much more sane than my ex-wife, or you won't believe how crazy she was, but you are fabulous. You are perfect. You are ideal. Finally found the woman of my dreams. Woof. Doesn't that kind of lift you up and sweep you off your feet? But then over time, when they get inside your head and start to make you question, are you ready for that promotion? Do you really think you're ready to go back to work? Or if you're a writer, I'm not sure about that word you're using in that paragraph, or that paragraph, does that really fit? Or that topic you're writing on, or your style. Do you see how it's incremental over time? And you start to question what was one of your strengths, your writing ability. So you look at your strengths, the things that you're good at, the things that you love, and do they get eroded, erased over time? Do you look at your passions, the interests that you've had outside your relationship, and what's happened to them? What's happened to you in your relationship with you? Has that fallen by the wayside? Has that become a casualty of being involved with a covert abuser who's trying to suck the soul out of you? They are soul robbers. They are energy and spiritual vampires. And that's that sort of that living by life as a zero-sum game. They lift themselves up. They make themselves taller by making you smaller. They feed on drama, trauma, chaos, confusion, often causing pain and suffering to the very people they should be protecting the most. They are consummate salesmen and very adept liars. And they will lie easily and often, even when they don't need to, like they just want to keep in practice. So when you're living with that kind of abuse, how can it help but get inside you and start to infect your soul if his voice has gotten stronger than yours within yourself? So where does the healing journey begin when you have been wrapped up in this web, this cocoon of evil that is paralyzing your ability to think straight, to move forward in the world, to feel alive? Are you happy? When was the last time you were happy? Are you, do you feel free to be silly, spontaneous, creative? Do you edit what you say before you say it always now because you're afraid of being judged or dismissed or rejected? What has happened to your self-confidence? What's happened to your identity? What's happened to your essence, your soul? And there's a difference between identity and essence. I'm just learning. Identity is, were you a teacher? Were you a physician? Were you an attorney? A stay-at-home mom? Were you a friend? Were you a wife? Were you a mother? These are all parts of your identity. But what is your soul all about? What is your essence all about? Who are you inside? Take away all those layers. And what's at the root of who you are? Aren't you good and kind and loving and generous? Don't you have compassion and empathy and an endless ability to forgive? Aren't you agreeable? And don't you try to make peace and go along to get along, if that's what it means to have peace in the home? Have you sacrificed everything for the sake of that peace? Have you martyred yourself? Put your children's needs always in front of yours, or your husband's needs, your boyfriend's needs, your partner's needs in front of yours? Have you erased yourself by always thinking about other people? Now it's time to get back to that essence, who you are. What are your core values? How do you live your life? Not by his values, not by his, but by yours. And can you remember what they are? Can you reclaim them and reclaim your power in the process of doing that? And can you celebrate February as a new kind of love, where you start to fall back in love with yourself? What a novel idea, right? When you're used to loving your children, when you once loved your partner, when you once maybe loved yourself. You're such a good soul. Each one of you here, you wouldn't be in this room if you weren't. If you weren't capable of love, you wouldn't be here. If you weren't capable of kindness and generosity and forgiveness, if you weren't educated, intelligent, brave, beautiful, courageous souls, you wouldn't be here. You are all good things. And yes, you're imperfect. You may have lost your temper sometimes. You may have said things you didn't mean, or you may have made mistakes. You may have fallen down because you're human. But at your core, at your essence, you're good. And because of that, you're going to attract other people who at their essence are good. And because of that, you're going to attract other people who prey upon your goodness. Predators on your goodness, apex predators. That's what the covert abuser, the coercive controller is, an apex predator. And because they're so charming, and because they're bright and shiny, at least in the beginning, and because they may have letters after their name and be pillars of the community, who would ever guess they have that dark side, let alone you, innocent soul that you are, ready to open your heart and to share your life with somebody that professed love for you and maybe made wonderful promises to you. Oh, you don't have to work. You can stay home, raise the kids. I'll make plenty of money for both of us, only to later call you a mooch and order you to get back to work, or to bring you over from another country and say, look, baby, I'll take care of you, and then order you to get a job and not help at all with the child care, and then start to turn your most precious beings in your life, your children, against you. This is one of the things that the apex predator, the covert abuser, does. Takes the very things that mean the most to you and starts to twist them, to turn them against you, to destroy them, to steal them from you. So who can deal with that horror? How can you come face to face with that horror? That's why so many women um, spend so long in this kind of relationship thinking that there's something that they can do to make things better. Because they're problem solvers, you're fixers, you're healers, you're nurturers, I can get it done. You're Rosie the Riveters. Give you a problem, you'll solve it. You're successful, educated, bright, wonderful people. And that's what he's counting on, that you're going to use your empathy, your compassion, your ability to do self-reflection, to think, oh, is there something that I could do better? Maybe I said the wrong thing, or maybe I'm not trying hard enough, or maybe if I get the kids to bed earlier, maybe if Johnny gets an A on his next report card, or maybe if I wear less makeup or more makeup, maybe lose some weight, maybe gain some weight, maybe dress a little differently, maybe. But what happens as a result? Is there a period of peace for a while? And do you kind of make that connection? Oh, well, now I'm onto something. Oh, he's being nice. Here's hope again. Here's that hope rising in you that he's going to go back to being the man you fell in love with. But here is the horrifying truth that will never last. If he's a covert abuser, a coercive controller, you just wait. The other shoe is going to drop. And then you're going to realize over time, if you keep a journal, that this becomes a pattern. And even the periods when he's being nice, at least not calling you names or swearing at you or telling you how useless you are, at least when there's periods of peace, even those periods are part of the control, because it's keeping you in the relationship. And that's what it's about. As much as he might dismiss you and threaten to divorce you, why doesn't he? Why are you the one that wants to leave? He wants to keep the status quo. He wants to keep that power imbalance. And this isn't just his story. This is the story of patriarchs and conquerors throughout history. Their MO is to move in and take over, to conquer and to destroy anything that poses a threat or forms of rebellion. So that sort of winner-take-all mentality, that Genghis Khan mentality, it's not enough for him to win. You must lose and lose everything. That's what you're up against, somebody with a totally different set of values. So look within at your values, love, connection, intimacy, peace. Don't project those values onto him. He's going to project his values onto you, thinking that you're going to steal his hard-earned money away from him. You're going to steal his kids away from him. You're going to take everything that he's worked so hard for. You're going to threaten his position in the community. You see how dangerous they can get when you start to reveal the truth about them. That's when you'll begin to see your reputation being attacked, seeds being planted about concern for your mental health. Or were you the abusive one? Those are the seeds of doubt that is going to try and plant in other people's minds. So you're dealing with somebody that spins this web of lies, this cocoon of lies around you, and may make you feel paralyzed for a while. But can you be the caterpillar inside that cocoon, that larva? Can you be the larva? Can you be that creature that dissolves for a while into chaos and spend time coming to terms with that chaos, with the horror, with the revelation of who and what he is, like Kurtz, deep in the heart of the jungle, the heart of darkness, recognizing the evil that he has become a part of, and the head in his hands, the horror, the horror. Who can come to terms with that and live? Not everybody does. One of our sisters here did not. One of our sisters died from a broken heart. This kind of opposite of love can kill you. And now you're all here because you want to save yourselves. That must mean you think you are worthy. That must mean you still have love for yourself. And I hope that February, this month of love, we can start remembering what it is like to love ourselves. If you spend any time on yourself at all in your relationship where you made to feel selfish. One woman, Carmen Dow, her story made the news, would be beaten for putting highlights in her hair or buying a new dress. There was such financial control in that relationship with her wealthy developer husband who ended up killing himself and their son. But how punishing it can be to feel that any time you spend on yourself, you're being selfish. And if we read between the lines, what that really means is if you were spending any time not totally devoted, dedicated to him, then you were being selfish. And that's Darvo, isn't it? Deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender, projecting onto you what is most true of himself. That trait of selfishness. So it's not selfish to take care of yourself. In fact, now it's vital. It's a survival skill. And it's also the ultimate act of rebellion against a covert abuser, spiritual vampire. Why? Because his end goal is often to destroy you, to suck the life right out of you. And if you're not looking after yourself, then you are inadvertently complicit in his attempt to take you down. So can you start to see every little act of self-care as a small act of rebellion where you rise up and start taking your power back? Where you declare, yes, I am worthy. I deserve to be treated with love and respect and kindness. I deserve peace and safety and freedom in my home, in my personal life, in my life. Now, who am I? Who was I before I got into this relationship? What did I like to do? What made me laugh? What made me cry? What made me happy? What made me sad? Can I start to remember those things? And when I'm watching TV even, can I be thinking about things that lift me up? Be careful about being pulled back into that trauma, that that trauma bond. There will be time for you to tell your story and to be in it, fully in it, so you can share your experience with trusted people who may be able to help you and protect you. And time to tell your story here. That's important to tell your story because each time you tell it, you take a little of its power away from it, take its power away over you. So you tell your story rather than your story telling you. You're in command, in charge of your narrative. That's the goal. But let's not become obsessed with our narrative, and let's not let that define us. Let's have that teach us how to have more empathy and compassion and kindness and strength and perseverance and courage because of everything that we've suffered and survived. Because of what we've experienced, let's let it refine us, redefine us as survivors, as heroes of our own journey who are worthy of love. So this February, this month of love, can we start falling back in love with ourselves? How about some positive affirmations, even little Post-it notes you can put on your mirror? My screensaver says, you are a good soul. Just to remind yourself, you're a good person. Your partner is going to try to convince everybody you are bad, you are crazy, you're corrupt, you're abusive. You are all the things that he possibly is. But let's put the mirror back, show him who he is. God forbid he should ever look in that mirror, because not only the mirror, but he would shatter. They don't do well with the truth. They don't do well with confrontation. The less he knows about what you're thinking, planning, feeling, the safer you'll be. The less contact you or anyone has with this kind of abuser, the safer you will all be. If their mission is to destroy, then your mission is to protect yourself and to love yourself and to heal yourself. It begins with safety planning always, because they are punitive and they are vengeful, bent on destruction. They have long memories. So safety planning will always have to be part of your life going forward. But that's the price of freedom. Even our ancestors, when they came over from other countries, they had enemies, things that they had to watch out for and protect themselves from. But they chose that journey and they chose to take that risk because that's the price of freedom. And it is so worth it. It's so worth it. Every moment that you are out of that relationship and breathing the fresh air of freedom is another moment of true life where you can now start to have true hope, hope of healing and recovery and solid friendships, and maybe even one day another love, true love with a good man or good woman who loves you and cares for you, who is a person of their word, not all smoke and mirrors. There are people like that, men and women like that out there still, good men, good women, still waiting to be discovered. So thinking about ways to look after yourself in this month. Here's the acronym, PEMFS. PEMFS. Okay, it's not a pretty one, but first of all, for me, you know, I'm a woman of faith. So prayer, it begins and ends with prayer and knowing when to turn things over. I'm going to do my best. I'll give it 100%, but I'm not going to ruminate. I'm not going to get stuck in that trauma bond of the past. I'm going to turn it over to whatever you believe in as your higher power. If you have one, for me, it's God. Turn it over to God and the angels and even fairies, because I'm Irish. I got everybody watching over me. I'm not in this alone. You can't do this alone. You're used to doing everything alone, and it was killing you. If you had kids, you were probably looking after them alone. If you were married, you were probably still a single mother because you had to do it all alone. Don't go it alone anymore. Find something, someone, some being, some essence that you can call on, preferably that infinite source of love and power and protection. So it's not just you, mere mortal, drawing on your own mere mortal strength, but something outside yourself, larger, greater than yourself. So prayer is great. Then exercise. Yeah, did you work out today? I did. And I'm feeling great. That's why I'm talking more than usual. I'm going to close in a couple of minutes. But exercise gets the juices flowing. It gets the blood to the brain. It oxygenates the brain. You may think, I don't have time. I've got to do this. I've been deposed or subpoenaed, or I've got to prepare for court. You will be much better prepared for court if you exercise. You can think more clearly. And along with that goes meditation. If you haven't tried meditation yet, I highly recommend it. I always think more clearly. I can remember my train of thought much more easily and hold 2 or 3 thoughts in my head at the same time. Wow, even at my age, if I've meditated and exercised and prayed in the morning, I mean, it's the trifecta. It's hard to do, and it's much easier to sit sit in front of the TV and eat a bag of popcorn. And I've been known to do that too, but you can see the evidence next day of how good that is for you. Food, speaking of food, so important. Are you nourishing yourself with food? Are you getting however many meals work for you during the day? And are you eating proper balance of protein and carbs and all those good things? That's important. Take a look at what you're putting into your mouth. Take a look at also what you're putting into your eyes through anything that you're watching on TV and who you're hanging out with. Friends, is it time to prune some of those friendships and start making some new ones? We are social creatures. Find a safe, trusted friend to confide in. And then sleep. Are you sleeping enough? Are you getting your 7, 8 hours a night? Sleep can be disrupted, disturbed. I still have nightmares years later. What does that mean? Are there things that you can do to help yourself get back to sleep? I have something there's a company called Apothecary. They don't pay me to advertise, but one of their products is Chill the F Out. And it's a little herbal supplement that I'm putting in my coffee here. My decaf coffee. Watch out for caffeine if you're sensitive to it. If you're an empath, somebody that's very empathetic towards others, you probably don't do well on a lot of caffeine or stimulants. So start to think about what makes you you. What makes you different from everybody else you know? What are your special qualities? What are the things you love about yourself? What are the things you have to be extra tender and nurturing for yourself around? And maybe you can write them all out. And this can start to form your core essence of who you are. And then you can start to branch out from that. Well, what am I looking for in the core essence of somebody else, a friend or a partner down the road? Maybe it's way not time to think about that now, but down the road, what qualities are you looking for in a person? way beyond. Is he a doctor, lawyer, engineer? Does he have a nice house, drive a nice car? Is he funny? Is he charming? We so do a terrible job teaching our kids how to choose a mate. These external trappings of success. Let's dig deeper, because that's where the truth lies. That's where the lies lie. So let's be more careful about who we invite into our special home and into our special hearts. And can February be the month that we honor our own hearts, that we fall back in love with ourselves?